I never planned to defy an empire older than most stars in the Perseus arm. In fact, when my ship, the Ranger's Folly, was intercepted by the Zephyrian Ascendancy, I was planning something much simpler: survival. But fate has a sense of humor, and that's how I found myself standing before a throne of living crystal, refusing to kneel before a woman whose bloodline could shatter moons. The throne room of the Zephyrian flagship Radiant Spear was carved from bioluminescent stone that pulsed like the heartbeat of some colossal cosmic creature. Rows of silver-armored guards lined the walls, each one at least a head taller than me, each one armed with weapons that hummed with caged lightning. And at the end of that hall, floating slightly above the floor, was Princess Lyris. Lyris was difficult to forget. Tall, slender, with silver-white hair that drifted as if underwater, and eyes like twin violet supernovae. Even her presence had weight, as though space-time bowed around her. She was rumored to be the Ascendancy's stellar oracle, a woman who could read gravitational fields like most people read body language. Custom demanded that all lesser beings kneel in her presence. I didn't. Not out of bravery. Not out of pride. My knees simply locked from fear. Her guards reacted instantly. A crackle of energy lit the air as half a dozen weapons rose, aimed at my skull. Whatever translator interface they used didn't need time to decode my disrespect. The message was universal. But before anyone fired, Lyris raised a single slender hand. The room quieted. Her eyes studied me the way a scientist examines an unexpected data point. Then slowly she smiled. A small smile, subtle but unmistakable. "This one," she said in flawless Terran standard, "is interesting." I didn't die that day. Instead, she ordered the guards to lower their weapons and commanded that I follow her. The throne dissolved into glittering fragments as she stepped down, and the crystals flowed behind her like a living cape. And so began my strange, improbable journey through the heart of an empire. I was given quarters on the Radiant Spear, though quarters was a generous term. They were more like a museum exhibit. Terran, bipedal, occasional pilot. But I was alive, which beat the alternative. Every few hours, an attendant would escort me to some new chamber where the princess waited. Sometimes with engineers, sometimes scientists, sometimes alone. She interrogated me gently but thoroughly. "Why did you not kneel?" she asked one day, her voice echoing through a chamber of floating holographic stars. "I was terrified," I admitted. "Kneeling requires functioning muscles." She laughed. A soft, melodic sound I wouldn't have believed could come from someone whose empire annexed worlds like they were summer homes. But beneath her curiosity, something else simmered. Tension. A pressure, like she was searching for something only I possessed. Over days that bled into weeks, I learned truths whispered nowhere beyond the Zephyrian borders. The Ascendancy's power wasn't merely technological. It was symbiotic. Zephyrians bonded with a cosmic entity they called the Luminara, something part energy, part consciousness, dwelling in the folds of dark matter. Chose host. Lyris had been chosen at birth. That was why she glowed faintly in the dark. Why her hair defied gravity. Why people kneeled. The Luminara was not just power. It was prestige, destiny, and divinity woven together. And it was fading. Lyris showed me in private how the once brilliant aura that surrounded her flickered unpredictably, how her control over gravitational fields stuttered like a failing engine. Her people didn't know. Couldn't know. A princess losing her connection to the Luminara would destabilize the entire region. "What does this have to do with me?" I asked. Lyris stared at me with eyes that seemed to look through my bones. "You resisted its influence," she said softly. "You walked into its presence and remained untouched. Even my advisors bow instinctively, compelled by the Luminara's gravitational signature. Yet you did not. I swallowed hard. So, my inability to kneel was special, catastrophically significant, she replied with an almost cheerful tone. She theorized that humans had some innate resilience to the Luminara, perhaps due to our chaotic evolutionary path or our neurological unpredictability. Whatever the reason, she believed I might be able to help her reconnect with the entity, or at least stabilize the bond. Which is how I ended up standing beside her in the Radiant Spear's core chamber, facing a swirling vortex of luminous particles. A fragment of the Luminara, contained in a gravitational lattice. It pulsed in colors I had no names for. Lyris placed her hand on the containment field. If this doesn't work, she said, my empire will fracture. War will follow. Do I get a safety briefing? Yes. No. Fantastic. What followed was indescribable, yet I'll try. The moment I touched the containment field beside her, reality tilted, colors inverted, sound stretched into shapes. The Luminara surged forward like a starving animal scenting food. But instead of consuming me, it recoiled, as if confused. Then, it reached for Lyris. She gasped, collapsing to her knees. The field destabilized, and gravitational ripples slammed the chamber. Sirens wailed. Guards rushed in but were pinned to the walls by the pressure. I grabbed her shoulders, pulling her upright. Stay with me. Her eyes flared violently bright. It wants control, she choked out. It doesn't trust me anymore. The vortex raged, extending tendrils of shimmering energy toward her chest. Instinct overrode fear. I stepped between them. For a moment the Luminara froze. Then I felt its attention. It wasn't sight or sound or touch. It was the sensation of being evaluated by something older than galaxies. It pressed against my consciousness, searching for purchase, and found none. I wasn't a suitable host, but I was something else. Buffer. Stabilizer. Bridge. The vortex softened. Its violent pulsing slowed. Slowly, carefully, Lyris reached out again, her hand trembling, until her fingers brushed the energy. This time, instead of rejecting her, the Luminara flowed into her like a river returning to its course. Light enveloped her. Someone unafraid to defy it when necessary, she snapped. That is why I chose you. Hesitated. She held out her hand. Fight with me, Terran. Took it. We sprinted through the corridors as the station bucked beneath us. Guards scrambled past, shouting orders. Lights flickered. Smoke curled from ruptured conduits. When we reached the Nexus, the Emperor was already there. Tall, imposing, armored in ceremonial gold that pulsed with power. His voice thundered through the chamber. Seralith, step away from the Terran. He has disrespected our throne. He has supported our survival, she said. He refused to kneel. And he was right not to. The Emperor's eyes narrowed. You side with him. Over your own empire. I side with the truth, she said. The engine is attacking. We need unity, not domination. The Emperor raised his gauntlet, energy crackling. I stepped between them. If you want war, start with me. A tense silence stretched. Then the station rocked again, harder. A massive shadow passed over the viewports. A colossal drone, easily the size of a city. The Emperor lowered his gauntlet. Fine, he growled. Terran, if you think you can save my empire, prove it. The battle and the aftermath, the defense grid activated. Fighters launched. Seralith and I coordinated from the tactical platform, combining Terran strategies with Aurelian firepower. For the first time, the two powers fought not against each other, but together. The battle raged for an hour. The colossal drone breached the outer hull, but our forces overwhelmed it with synchronized orbital strikes. One by one, the obsidian constructs collapsed into drifting ash. When the final drone disintegrated, silence settled over the capital. Exhausted, I turned to Sarilith. Her silver eyes reflected the ruined stars outside. "It's over," I said. "For now," she replied. "The engine will send more." The Emperor approached, studying me with a newfound, if reluctant, respect. "Terra will not kneel," he said slowly. "And it seems, neither will my daughter." Sarilith's chin lifted proudly. "Captain Ward," the Emperor said, "you have my blessing. Work with my heir to prepare a joint task force. Together, perhaps we can survive what comes." He left. I exhaled deeply. "Well," I said, "that could have gone worse." Sarilith laughed. Bright, tired, relieved. "You stood before the Emperor of the most powerful empire in the sector and refused to kneel. And you lived." "Barely." She stepped closer, voice lowering. "I meant what I said earlier. About me being your type." "Yes." Her smile was small but sincere. "Someone who stands. Someone who challenges. Someone who does not fear me." I swallowed. "And what happens now?" She leaned in, her forehead resting against mine. "Now," she whispered, "we prepare for war, and maybe, if you're willing, something more." Outside, the stars shimmered, bright, defiant, unbroken. And for the first time, the Aurelian Empire and the Terran Union stood side by side, united not by conquest but by choice. By refusing to kneel, I had changed the fate of two civilizations. And somehow, impossibly, I had earned the smile of the princess who whispered, "You're just my type."